Hello friends, Stevie B here. In today's video, I want to share with you 3 very simple ideas that will help you to write music that's more licensable and that's better suited to working with music libraries. Whether you're trying to apply to a music library or whether you're working with some already, but your tracks maybe aren't getting as much action as you'd like them to, keep these 3 simple hacks in mind next time you sit down to write a track. So first idea is to stick to a singular motif. I don't think that this is a hard and fast rule for licensing music. I think it really depends on the library that you're writing for. Many of the artist-focused libraries like Artlist, for example, and Musicvine encourage a more traditional approach to songwriting. And if you browse through their catalogs, you'll likely hear some, fairly elaborate B sections and maybe even some like bridges, especially in some of their like singer-songwriter, folk music and indie music as well. So that being said, I don't think it's the most effective use of my time to deviate too much from the main motif. And I think that this is especially the case with TV and production library music. I think this actually makes the writing process a lot easier, and people tend to overthink this. It's not that you can't have a B section in your track, it's just that in most cases there's not much sense in having anything more than just like one main hook for the song to lean on. So for example, this orchestral hip-hop track that I wrote, this string staccato line is basically the hook. Accompanied by the brass and the trap drums, of course. Directly after that first chorus, I move into this B section, which is exploring some new textures and some different instrumentation and melodies. But ultimately, I'm always returning to this intense staccato string line, which is the main focus and the main hook for the track. If you're a Taxi member, I'm sure you've already noticed that many of the briefs that they post explicitly ask that the submissions stick to a singular motif. Second idea, avoid long intros or just ditch them altogether. Long intros are really a vibe killer, especially with the royalty-free music library game, because your average content creator is just scrolling through all these tracks at light speed, trying to find the perfect tune for their next video, and attention spans are extremely limited. I really think that short intros are a must for any track that sort of fits into the pop genres or like rock, hip hop, or corporate music as well. In fact, lately I've been experimenting with tracks that have no intro at all and just start with the chorus right out of the gates, like this indie rock track that I wrote, for example. This isn't going to work for all tracks, of course. A lot of my tracks have intros, but if you are going to put an intro in your track, then I highly recommend that the first chorus drops within the first 30 seconds of the track. Many of my intros are no longer than about 20 seconds long. It's very important to hook the listener as soon as possible. Number 3, and perhaps the most important one, is to build interest every 4 to 8 bars. This is probably the number 1 issue that I encounter when I'm giving feedback to members of the Production Music Academy. The reason I say 4 to 8 bars is because it depends somewhat on what the tempo of the track is. If it's a bit faster, then you could probably get away with doing the same thing for every 8 bars. But either way, if you have something like, for example, a double chorus at the end of your track, it's absolutely essential that you distinguish the last half of that chorus from the first half. And it could be something as subtle as just adding an extra layer of percussion, maybe something ambient too, just to lift the energy up a bit. We want to save something special for the last run through the chorus. So for example, this track here has a double chorus. I'm adding some ambient flotando strings and a percussion loop. I'll start the track just before we bring these elements in. Just listen to how it kind of lifts everything up. Using a lo-fi hip-hop track like this is kind of an interesting example because it's not supposed to be, super high energy, and the genre is very repetitive by default. So it only takes a few subtle layers to kind of bring the energy up just a little bit to finish things off in a slightly higher energy vibe than you started with. Over repetition and listening fatigue is your number one enemy with licensing music. And listening fatigue sets in very quickly. You've really got to keep things interesting. It's something that very often gets overlooked, so make sure you listen through your tracks and make sure that every 4 to 8 bars you're changing things up or you're introducing some new element. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. Check out the Production Music Academy if you're interested in learning more about music licensing and music production. I have many courses there which cover my entire writing, mixing, and mastering process in several different genres. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Stephen Bedall. Join the Discord community. Check out the weekly Make Music Income podcast. And until the next time, take care. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.